This is going off of what I just said about past lives and, violence. It's like the more you can stay in control of your anger and your acceptance of anger and balance it out to a peaceful, harmonious life of your own. If you're not going to go out to the world and get involved, then you stay in your centered part of the world and you keep yourself harmonious and peaceful there in that kind of vibration. And that's the best you can hope everyone would do from where they are. And that's just not the situation. They go out and they cause turmoil and havoc, and most of it is half of them knowing, half of them not knowing, and then splitting that in between care and don't care or don't give a shit. And I really didn't mean to do that. So those kind of splits are easy ways to break them up. Of course, there's more little detailed emotions and feelings, but to sum them up in more of a solid color spectrum, so we can use the three primary colors as how our feelings would be, and like the center would be, with this middle of the rainbow. We just go like that kind of idea. And we can sort of do what a human color spectrum here would be. So what people don't understand is that, like, say your past lives, you make pacts before you start this in a world without a body where you're conscious enough to do it. So if you're conscious enough to think in a pattern of like a language that you were before you died, you can keep that chant or mantra or thought or prayer or anything in your mind as you pass on, as long as you aren't worried, especially if you learn how to start dreaming or learning how to focus on the light in your head. Because if you're good at meditating, you can do it too when you're ready to leave or die. But when you are good at lucid dreaming or keeping control of when you think you're sleeping, because you're never sleeping if you have a body, it's still alive and pumping and all that stuff. But your consciousness goes either to rest because you feel that you need to heal, so you just sort of shut down for a while and you just go into the astral deep sleep mode. But at the same time, that delta mode, you're actually in a healing state, but you can, it's almost like delta planes, man. If you tell yourself, I'm going to stay right in control of everything I'm thinking, and as you close your eyes, you don't know if you're either meditating or you're astral projecting or lucid dreaming, and it becomes to the point where your eyes are open or closed and you see what it is. You just see all of it, like the fake world, the real world. You can really live as Mickey Mouse and feel his feelings that the character had because the person who talked his voice or felt that way, or the artist that drew it, or the man who wrote it or came up with the ideas, how they felt when they came up with those characters. And you can have all the different aspects of those characters, and the deeper you get into it, the more you really feel it, because you are sense and spirituality inside a body. So like I said, this goes up and down three ways, and it goes up and down infinite ways, but you can break it into three because that's how we learned how to count and use our system. There's always little flaws and there's always little tweaks. Just like if you were to start one lifetime and use an ideal a mind where you're in a ball, so you could stand in the middle and you could spin around and throw in a 360 circle, up, down, left, and right. And if you're looking at a 6 this way and you turn and leave the 6 where it's at, or you stay where you're at, turn the 6 to the other side of the globe. When you turn to look at it, it's going to be either a 9 or like a 6 pointing to that side, or a 9 pointing to the opposite side, and have a whole experience of beings who speak with that kind of sound and that kind of color spectrum and that kind of everything. And it's all just turned a little to the side. And you really do that. And sometimes you'll want to not think that you've ever lived before. Sometimes you'll want to think that you've never done this before, or sometimes you'll want to know nothing, and sometimes you'll want to see what it's like to do this, and sometimes you'll want to see what it's like to do that, and you'll actually say, well, this time I want to go from this life into another life and to another life, and at least 10 in a row, so I don't know until I get done. And it's not like we are the most fun and meaningful beings because we're trying to teach each other through like coarse and harsh events, through physical sensation, how to be better for each other. And that's all we're really trying to do. That's all nature is trying to do. That's all God wants us to do is learn to feel important to ourselves and each other, without anyone having to tell us what that means and how you go about feeling important and being loving and caring and being harmonious and working together instead of ever against anything. Everything that's alive deserves to be alive and serve its course of time as it believes so. And like, you always leave when you believe you will, whether it's somebody who told you to be sick, or if you were just so out of your mind and righteously gone that your higher selves or whatever it was shut you down in your sleep, or an accident happens because you were in that place at that time, and those vibrations of those thoughts, of your thoughts and the other forms of living this, thought to go this place at that time, and those numbers will all add up. It's the craziest, coolest thing, but it really does. And it's in that secondary place in spirituality mind. And like when I go to the dimensions, it goes to the 0 dimension backwards till like 9, and then it goes forward from 0 till 9, because after 9 it goes back to 1 and 0 and then forward again. And then when it gets to that one, it goes 1 then 0, then a negative number set that is the minus side on the right, and you count backwards with the numbers to the left. And then there's the side where you just count 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it comes back over to 0 on the front, and then you go back in a circle like that. There's multiple galaxies where it's just you spin, and when you go into that astral place between lifetimes, if you can keep your cool as you die, or you plan your death and have people doing like chants or reading you the story that you want of your life. It's not childish to say, I want to go out like being happy and laughing. I don't want to go out crying and scared, because there's no reason to do that, right? Just all that's leaving is my spirit. Like we know that we have a spirit. You go to sleep and it takes care of you. You put your hand out and like, you know, if you try to not pay attention to it, there's something in your mind connecting you to your arm because you think of your body. And there's sometimes where you're pointing in the air and somebody starts talking to you, you'll have your hand up in the air and look over at them and you'll be like, oh, I forgot I even had my hand out. Because it's your spirit that holds the memory into those cells until you tell it, okay, let me down. You know, it's so deep we're a plant, but we are part animal. We're that plant mammal, like we're a plant mammal. We're not meant to kill anything harshly. If something's dying or dead and it's a loving thing that we have out in the open and they're going to die, like we'll be able to tell if they want to go soon and stuff like that. When we really start paying attention, you can feel the emotions of everything when you really pay attention. And what happens is other people are going to hear you saying, well, this thing wants to do this or this thing thinks that. And they're going to be like, no, they don't. I didn't hear that. I don't think so. How do you get that? And I'm like, well, I just look at it and tell how it feels. You just sort of know. You know, or if you really want to know, you can get close to it, feel it, touch it, and maybe even feel it through the ground if you have your bare feet on the soil. There's some kind of patterns that our plant body inside us can relay to itself through the air and through the ground. And water works really well, especially when you talk to it, speak to it, and love it. It's like a vibration goes into it and like echoes out through the mist. I mean, I don't know, but honestly, it's something along those lines in the physical world. I can't put that in the words because it's like, I don't know, it would be trying to explain looking through infrared vision with that kind of cool predator kind of hot stuff and cold stuff and blue, pink, green. I mean, that's true, but so far I've only seen in this lifetime as green and yellow, but I know I've done all those other ones. All I got to do is sit and focus on them for a long time, and that's the thing with this, being able to do just about anything. I don't want to spend my time focusing on an ability when I need to help people. I need to help people learn how to do this, because why would I want to be the only one who does it? Like, I feel chi, I understand chi, and I can speak it and tell it to even the people who've studied it their whole lives, and not to offend them, but I've known it for my whole entirety now. And it's like, Dan looks like this, but I like know anything I look into, and I know it to its entirety. And like, no matter what it is, I can try not to know about it before people start talking about it. But by the time they finish like a few sentences, or if I really concentrate on it, my mind goes whoop over to the sky, or just I take a deep breath and it like the information is just in the air. I know, and I can like feel it from them, and I like sort of hear what they're saying, and I just dive into it even more, and I can tell what makes sense and what doesn't. And like, it's not to the T, because I don't want to like do seances about everything I do. And the deeper I breathe and the more I listen, my heart feels the vibrations. It goes on levels. It's awesome, guys. It is awesome. That's all I'm going to say for now. But like, sometimes people only have past lives because they want to only live a few. They only want to have an experience of so or not. Like in the astral, we can have dice astral games that have 1 billion sides on them, because we don't make sense of numbers like a big deal. It's like you can play with stuff and signs and symbols in the astral world like you've never believed. You run around in them, you stretch them out, you bounce back and forth on them and stretch them out. You can be evil and fight, but the more we do it here, the more it's out there, because it's like mist and information still, but it's really loosely held together. And the more we get loosely held together, the more the mist that flies in that direction to the shadow realms kind of do. And it doesn't make sense to people, but that's echoing through the ground. Sound echoes through the ground through waves of water just differently than it does here. Just like it goes through roots in grass and roots in different plants, and then roots into the dirt that's more fertile or not fertile, or dry or sand. It's all just math, and you'll see it the more you look into it in your mind. So yeah, that's all. Peace.